What's going on, everybody? So in today's video we're going to learn how to set up ReactCSV. This is a pretty simple library, but I had a little bit of trouble installing it and using it the first time, so I figured it'd be a good tutorial to make. So here's what we have. We have a simple download me button right here that if I click I can download and it'll open up a CSV, and I can see that there's some data inside of it with some really good basketball players. Let's get into it. I'm going to assume that you already have a React app made. If you don't have one, go ahead and make one and start it up. The first thing that we're going to be doing is installing our ReactCSV package. So to do that, I'm just going to go into my folder for the project, and I'm going to do npm install react-csv. Alright, so now that we've installed our package, what we're going to do now is create a new component, which is where we're going to be working out of. So to do that, I've created this new folder called components, and inside of there I will create a new file, and I'll call it reactcsv.js. And I'll just go ahead and copy this content right here and paste it into here. I'll get rid of this app and I'll change it to ReactCSV. Same thing here. I'll get rid of this right here. We don't need that either. And I'll just do connected, just to make sure that we've actually connected it. And inside of this component, we'll just go ahead and import it. So that'll be ReactCSV, and I'll start up my app. I noticed a small typo. This was incorrect. It was a lowercase s, so I fixed it, and now we can see that everything is connected. So what I'm going to do now is go into the component, and I'll get rid of this connected. And the first thing that I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and import CSV link. Oops. There we go. And inside of there's going to be a couple of properties that we can give, and we'll be going through each individual property individually. So I'll just do data is equal to empty, headers is equal to empty as well, file name, oops, empty, and I'll give it a target underscore blank, and I'll just say download me. So it's not going to work because we don't actually have anything. So the first property that we're going to be talking about is called data. Data is basically the bread and butter of this library from what I found. You can do a lot of things with this property, but data basically means that it's required to represent the CSV data. It can either be the column names, the individual rows as well. And at least according to documentation, data can be represented as an array of arrays, array of literal objects or strings, as well as nested JSON objects. So let's talk about the first one, nested JSON object. This first variable right here called headers is going to be our column headers name. It has a label, so this is what will be displayed inside of the actual CSV, and it has a key associated to it. We have player attribute dot athletic, or we have name. So what does player attribute dot athletic even mean? So we have underneath that headers array of objects called data, which is also an array of objects, and that contains this thing called player attributes, which also contains its own object called athletic and its own value. So player attributes dot athletic will basically point to incredibly and not so much. And same thing right here, we have a key. We're associating the key to be name, and we want the value LeBron James or Steve Nash. And so let's just display what this would actually look like in an actual CSV. So it'll be real simple. I can just copy this data name and put it inside of here. Same thing with the headers, and put it inside of here. And for file name is really simple. You can give it whatever you want. I can call it just basic file name if I wanted, or I can be really fancy and I can say super duper pooper scooper. Alright, we also have to import CSV link. There we go. Wow, what in the world? Now it should be imported. So now if I click download me, I'll have this file created right here called super duper pooper scooper, and if I go inside of it, I'll be able to see that we have our column name athletic ability. Whoops. We have our column name athletic ability, we have our name, and we have our athletic ability for the player, incredibly, and the name LeBron, not so much, Steve Nash. Cool. Alright, so I hope that gave you a pretty good understanding of what a nested JSON object will look like in ReactCSV. And next thing we're going to talk about is called array of arrays, and this is even more simpler in my opinion. We don't actually even need this headers variable anymore, so we can get rid of it from here, and we just need this data array. So inside of there I can go ahead and actually create multiple different arrays. So if I say the first one I want it to be called athletic ability and name, this first indice, or the 0th indice, will be our column titles, column headers, and everything underneath it will be our subsequent rows. So if I have the first row, we want LeBron, so I say incredibly, and we can do LeBron, and same thing underneath there, we can say not so, and we can say Steve Nash. And this will display the exact same thing as we just saw earlier. So if I download this, and we can see now that we have the exact same thing right here, incredibly LeBron, not so Steve Nash. Perfect. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is called object literal, and this one, in my opinion, I wouldn't really use that much, because the issue with this is that if we have a pretty long title, let's say the greatest basketball player of all time, we can't have spaces inside of our column header. Instead, we would have to either put them all together like this, or we would have to add an underscore. And that's why I would probably prefer to either use the nested JSON example or array of arrays. At least that way I can control the column names. And of course, we all know the greatest of all time is LeBron. Cool, so that covers the main parts of this library. I think it's pretty cool. I suggest that you guys try to keep working on it more. There's a lot of cool things you can do with this. You can, if you have, like, for example, an API worth of data, as opposed to individually putting that data inside of like an object, you can just map through it and you can just send it over into CSV and it'll appear immediately. So there's a lot of cool potential to it, and I would suggest that you keep working on it if you want. Try to build your own custom CSVs. And if you did enjoy this video and if it did help you out, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.